Welcome back to the Sanilac Flashlight. Last night I went to the Sandusky City Council meeting, and the primary focus of this meeting was just about all of the MDOT changes that are going to be made starting next spring in the city of Sandusky. How do I want to say this? It seemed like we were being talked down to throughout this presentation. We were given this sort of problem, reaction, solution, except the problem isn't really a problem. The reaction is not sound, and the solution isn't a solution at all because the problem didn't exist. At one point, the MDOT official told us that there were 5 accidents in the last 10 years. Honestly, she couldn't tell us what the time frame was for these accidents that happened, these 5 accidents, and 2 of them were fatalities. I came to find out today that one of those fatalities was a woman who was jaywalking, okay? And the other fatality was a woman in a wheelchair who was in a private parking lot. So, not even on public property. In that sense, I want to say one person dying on public roadways, or rather one walking pedestrian getting hit by a car in the last 10 years that didn't look both ways before crossing the street, is no reason to put islands and bump outs in your community. It's just not. I find it just kind of preposterous that this whole thing was framed in this whole mantra of, well, do you want a safe town or do you want a town that's good for business? And honestly, I think we already have both. I think that currently the roads going through downtown Sandusky are wide enough to get machinery down. Could they be free of bump outs that prevent trucks from making maneuvers at the 4 corners in Sandusky? Probably, yeah. We already have bump outs. We've already got, we've got several bump outs throughout Elk Street as well as on M46. And I don't quite understand why we need more. It's quite simple. I'm going to put on the hour-and-a-half presentation of, well, the first hour-and-a-half of the meeting. I dipped out at roughly an hour-and-a-half because I wanted to interview those MDOT officials before they left. But yeah, it was a lot of talking down to adults like they were children throughout this presentation. And yeah, I don't think anything got solved. I think that they had a plan and they snuck it through, and now they're not going to adjust the plan. They made it clear that if you want the project, it comes with all these extra strings. And I think this gets back to the idea that in Sanilac County, we should probably stop chasing all these federal and state subsidies. That's all we've done since they took our businesses away. And it doesn't seem like the politicians in this county are interested in bringing in new business so much as they are interested in bringing in federal subsidies, whether it's the jail and bringing in all these chomos or these road projects. They say, well, we're going to redo your sewer, we're going to redo all the pavement and fix everything. Great. Just don't put in all these islands and bump outs and all these, features that we just don't want. They don't fit the community. These MDOT planners, they're nice people, but do they live in Sandusky? No, they don't. It's just a fact. So I'm going to leave it at that and just roll the presentation. I got a couple of highlights real quick, and then, yeah, you can make your own mind up about it, but that's my first impression of it, at least. Thanks.
Today we're having an informal council workshop. We're going to have some order to it because the representatives from MDOT have come to us from a long distance, so we want them to go first. I had one other request talk, because that is, Mr. Morris, the head of, mental health, has another meeting that he's gotta run to. So if he would like to be the first one to give his opinions.
Thank you. My name is Will Morris, and I'm the CEO for Sandusky County Community Mental Health. I apologize for having to leave early, but I'm actually on the Village Council in Lexington, and they have council meetings tonight, and I gotta get to make sure we have quorum. So thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd like to start by saying that actually I think that my first conversation in regards to M46 with the city was probably 2-3 years ago. It was during COVID, and unfortunately, one of the individuals who was a lifelong county resident, who happened to be in a wheelchair, was leaving our office after receiving services and was hit by a car. He's passed away several days later. And over by where my facility is, there are no crosswalks crossing 46 from our facility to the south side of the road. And a lot of the individuals that come for services, I mean, if you've driven on Sandusky transportation, you know, the bus service, though they do the best job they can, they're not as often as maybe a lot of folks would like. So when individuals are at my building for the day, they tend to walk across the street to either go to Dairy Queen, or they cross the street to go to Speedy Q, you know, to get snacks or whatnot, or they walk down to the drop-in center. And there are no crosswalks literally from our facility to the traffic light. I know personally, I mean, this afternoon I walked over to Dairy Queen to get lunch, you know, and I have to avoid traffic just zipping through town. So I was really I actually wrote the city a letter requesting crosswalks. I don't remember, Dave, if that was 2 or 3 years ago. I know it was when this project was just starting. So I was happy to hear that there was the potential for crosswalks in our facility. We serve 1,500 Sandusky County residents every year. And honestly, we were just notified about a month ago that the state of Michigan is giving us a CCDHC demonstration certification, so I can see the number of folks that we serve doubling over the course of the next year. And they're all Sandusky County residents. You don't receive services from us unless you're a Sandusky County resident. So that's could be up to 2,500 to 3,000 citizens who would be receiving services at our facility, and a lot of them walk across the street. So I was very happy to hear from the city that there was the potential for a couple of crosswalks, because like I said, our folks, they cross the street either going west to go to Speedy Q, or they cross the street going east to go over to A&W, which is obviously also supporting several of our local businesses. It's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't see someone just miss a car, and it's not a day I don't think about the individual who was killed on 46. So I want to thank the city for their work on this, and MDOT for their willingness to make modifications so that the roadways can be safer for the citizens who receive services at Sandusky County Community Mental Health, as well as any citizens who are trying to cross from the north to the south on the east side of town, because there are no other ways to do it other than going over. So that was all I had to say, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna tackle the M46, M19 project first. Then we'll move on to the Lexington parking lot discussion. And then lastly, the parking in the back of the east side of our downtown. Do you want to say something first?
So, good evening. I'm Brett Schlager, project manager of the project for MDOT. Linda Burchell is the CSC manager, and Brian Davies, the design team from HRC. So, we being MDOT, the city, the county, and the design team have been working together to develop these plans for the M46 corridor and the M19 corridor within the city, and then there's a chunk in the county as well. So the project development has been collaborative effort from the start, focusing on vehicular traffic operations as well as vulnerable downtown area. So a brief summary, just so everybody knows what we're talking. Reconstruction of M46 from Dawson Street to Stoutenburg Road. That reconstruction includes removal and replacement of everything from the ground up, safety and operational improvements through the corridor. Outside of town to the east from Stoutenburg to west of Carsonville is scheduled for removal and replacement of the surface only, similar safety and operational improvements as we can make it. And then M19 from south of Miller Road all the way to M46 is being rehabbed, meaning removal and replacement of the surface only, and safety and operational improvements similar to the other segments. So just wanted to distinguish the difference there. So we held a public meeting back on May 5th, received comments on the bump out, specifically the one on M19, as well as some others that we had proposed. Signal comments, timing, traffic movement discussions, a lot of good came out of it. Another topic was the median islands. So the design team took those comments, reviewed the plan standards, and made modifications where we could. The one modification that we specifically with one of the issues, as I understand it, being the pedestrian islands, we made the curb more of a rolled curb, so it's not the vertical face curb, and then we were able to widen that barrier, let's call it, width through those islands. Not only do those provide safety for the pedestrians, and also is a traffic calming mechanism, I guess, to slow traffic down, make sure that they're alert, something's changing, check their speed, and so on. And again, one, I forgot your name, but sorry, to his point, and there's other examples where there was injuries, and obviously you'll have the property damage and those types of things. So we're doing our best to provide a safe traveling corridor for the locals and surrounding areas, protecting the vulnerable road users, as well as keeping traffic moving as best as we can. So that was really all I wanted to start off with.
With the reduction in those pedestrian islands, besides the rolled curb, which is drivable perhaps, that you're not hitting a upright curb face, they narrowed that down to maximize the lane width for, we'll still paint it as a 12-foot lane, but we have a larger section for some of the agricultural vehicular movements, which was a comment that was received at the public meeting, and we listened to that and responded to it. Sandusky has had 5 pedestrian crashes, and that's significant for a town of this size. I have larger towns across our area that may have had 1 or 2, but 2 of those were fatalities and 3 of them were serious injuries. What's the time frame?
When was this?
I don't know the time frame. I don't know that now, but we've had 2 fatalities and 3 injured vehicular pedestrian, which are we call vulnerable road users. So
on 46 or as the city as a whole?
on 46 and 19, both of our corridors in the town. But so with being alerted to that reality and having a major project, which I can tell you as a TSC manager, we beg for a major project in any town. They're very expensive, they're very hard to coordinate. We're able to coordinate with the city of Sandusky that they're gonna be doing the water main replacement, which, you know, is a benefit to all of you. We're, going to be replacing the storm sewer, we're gonna be giving you a new road. But we can't do that with blinders on and not take care of all the users and make sure we're doing things safely for, you know, safely for traffic flow, including those pedestrians. So that's why we initiated conversation about what methods could we do to protect. It could be any of your family members, you know, you just don't wanna see that happen. So we're doing, these jobs don't come along very often, they come along every 25, 30 years. So let's do what we can when we're here to make sure every I's dotted and every T's crossed, so.
How wide are the lanes then, the additional for the 12?
Oh, yeah, the standard lane width is 12 feet for them, so it's just a national standard for highways. But the width actually for that's clear and passable is 14 foot 9 inches.
Okay, do you realize a 4x4 tractor takes 16 foot? Right?
Right.
That's the issue, I think, that a lot of us being in agricultural community, that's one of our issues. And that's what, and equipment's only getting bigger every few years. So, that is one of the issues with being an ag community.
And if I can make a comment, what's going on here right now with these bump outs and these curb things is going on all throughout the globally. And right now, over in England, in Oxford, they actually put them in the people of the town actually got them out. In some areas. What they are trying to do, it's all on, I even have a thing, curb extension and bump outs are not appropriate everywhere. These extensions are only appropriate where there are on-street parking lane available, because they extend the curb. Bump outs may not impede a traffic lane, bike lane, or traffic shoulder. They may mean that if the bike lane is present, that that any proposed bump out is small enough to not reach the bike lane, or may mean that the city planners place bump outs on streets with no bike lanes. But what they're doing is trying to keep, this all ties into the 15-minute city thing. Well, I know, we really want to stick to the agenda. This is part of the agenda, this bump
It is.
outs and thing, it is part of the agenda. It is part of the agenda.
I understand that.
And they're trying to limit people's driving. They're trying to limit on the vehicles. Right now over in Oxford, in other countries too, they are finding people that don't have EVs if you have a regular vehicle. And when I came here the last time and asked about the permits, about what the permit, they took the sign down right after I made that comment with the permit sign meant.
We're not here to talk about the 15-minute city.
No,
Ma'am,
this is involved with the 15-minute cities though. They're doing that.
We're
No.
here,
To discuss the plan for
Yes.
19 and then 40.
we
But that is
don't
part
wanna,
of it.
I myself, I don't wanna hear about the 15-minute city until unless it comes up at another meeting.
But that's
Please.
part, that's part of it. I'm telling you,
Okay.
that's part of it.
But that's not what we're here for tonight.
So the question is, really, you got 12-foot wide road in the agricultural community that wants to transport or drive through the city needs 14 feet. What is the other?
16 plus.
Need 18? Or
16 or more.
16, right. So,
That's just the width of the machine.
right. Well, but hopefully you don't have a lot of attachments to this.
It's a farm, if you wanna be a farmer, you do.
Okay, so, but you need 16 feet from wheel to wheel. Is that correct?
Yep, and then you probably want a little clearance.
That's the width of the piece itself.
Right. So is the islands maneuverable enough that they will be able to drive down through there without getting into the parking areas?
So I think that's why the curbs were converted to mountable curbs.
Right.
That the wheel could potentially go up on the island and drive over it, or the question that you guys are really asking is, what is the cost of safety to your community?
Oh, come
Do you
on.
wanna have pedestrian crossings?
Oh, come on.
And
That's not
that's
allowed.
a
We're
legitimate
not
trade-off.
discussing global as a.
There's always trade-offs when you make a decision. So do you want to have pedestrian crossings, or do you wanna be able to drive tractors through town?
We
Drive
want
tractors.
tractors, what about the community?
If you take away the pedestrian islands, which is what you're proposing, you can't put a 2-foot island, it has to have a certain width.
Put a traffic
to
light up.
protect the
Put a
vulnerable
crosswalk.
users.
Why can't we do crosswalks?
Right, use a crosswalk.
Dan, you're,
Okay. I am a farmer north of town. We drive large equipment. I also own a dealership west of town. Yes, says Dave, Teddy, here, we're neighbors across the road. I also own a tile business on the east side of town with a tile machine. They own a cement factory east of town. It's our whole community, what we do here. How is a combine gonna get delivered on a truck through these bump outs through downtown Sandusky? Okay, you got combines going in and out everywhere. You got deliveries. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know how we're gonna pull this off.
The only other option is you give us a truck route all the way around town.
Yes, that's,
I don't have a problem
How
not
big is that
driving through town.
semi-trailer that the tractor is on?
they haul doubles trailers.
Like why? Trailers.
Why is it
Why?
why?
For the trailer?
You can go over with, the trailer by pulling the permits that you need for this.
I have to get it over with permit to haul trailers. John, I have to take the tires off.
Right, but the trailer that's actually going down the road. I realize, but we're talking curve this high on the edges. If your equipment is up on that trailer, it's gonna be above that.
But the combine's also high. So am I gonna go over a bump out to the light? What, I don't know.
There's not a bump out on
And
it.
we have beat trucks.
Yeah.
We have 12-foot lanes across my entire region. I mean,
Are you a farming region?
Huron, Sanilac,
Yeah.
Tuscola.
I have stores in all those locations. I'm not familiar with any bump outs in Bad Axe,
These bump
Hero.
outs are crazy, I mean,
But
three,
So-
I don't remember, I don't have a 12, I don't have any program larger than a 12-foot lane anymore.
But you said you had bump outs. I
I never said I had
drive
bump
overs.
outs. I didn't say that.
Well, they don't have them, and they're all
I just
in
wanna-
communities.
I just wanna clarify something too real quick, cause there's two different terms. There's bump outs, which is on the outside curb line that protects parking. Typically at intersections, we'll do that bump out, shorten crossing, and also if you're pulling in and out of that parking, you can visually see better.
And
The
it
median
clarifies
islands
where the
were what we
pedestrians was
we're talking about, so.
crossing.
Two different things, bump outs and median islands, so I just wanna,
We wanna talk about both, but
well,
Both.
the ag is
bump
mostly
out-
concerned about the medians.
okay.
I spoke to Alexander this morning and he's against it.
We have that movie, we have that correspondence from him.
Right now, I have a restaurant right at the corner there on M19 and 46. I can tell you, just in the past half hour, I've watched three semis run up on the curb
Yep.
with that's there right now. You can't tell me that our bump outs won't be gone and wrecked in months, because they are in Marlette already. So why would we put them back in just to see them trashed in no time at all, or put something like that in to see trashed?
And also if they drive over that little shallow curve, you're gonna ruin whatever lawn or trees or whatever you're gonna put in that island.
and they ruin the traffic flow in town. I mean, from 19, when you're at the light, it takes 3 cars in the left turn lane, and you can't make a right turn. You can't squeeze in there. And usually Mondays and Fridays, the traffic is backed up in all directions, over blocks, because you can't get through. And yet you wanna put another one. It's insane.
I guess,
We don't need to slow traffic down in this town, we need to get it moving.
I guess I got a question. If we did not put in the bump outs, or I should say the islands in the middle of the road, okay? And somebody crossing the road and got hit by a car without, they're not in there, we didn't put them in there, we decided tonight that we wasn't gonna do it. And after the project's done and over with, everybody's, you know, living their life again, and somebody gets killed, could the city of Sandusky be held liable because they had a chance of having something safety, and they didn't take use of it, and somebody died because of it?
Typically, they have governmental immunity, but there's some really good lawyers out there, so. A lot of times
How,
it's not
I think
something
in
that
today's
would
age,
be
if you can get people to walk down the street,
How about-
Mr. Hobson,
How about we fix what we have?
Absolutely.
Install some crosswalks.
Yes.
Save a lot of money,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have to close businesses down during the construction.
I don't think we'd be able to get the job done without doing detours and actually
I'm just
impacting
saying that
businesses.
to fix what we have already would take probably less time than putting in your bump outs. All you have to do, people said, go to Bad Cass City, those roads.
It's over.
I gotta think of it, yeah.
Streets are bad.
I, called, Marlette today, and Linda, I talked to you about this, and you said, oh, Marlette just loves them. No, the mayor does not love them. He
I
says,
said that. What is-
you Linda Burchell?
I'm Linda Burchell.
Yeah, I
Who are
talked to you on the phone, Wilma Henderson.
Hi, Wilma.
And he says there's a problem sweeping with those bump outs, and another, he wish he would've never put them in, because they're breaking all apart, and I don't know how long they've been in already. And also, there's a problem with snow, ice, and slush, where those bump outs are, they can't get in there to clean that out. So now we're gonna have people stepping in slush and ice, and you're thinking person's gonna get hit on the road? Well, what happens when they fall on the ice and the slush between those bump outs, and hit their head and get run over by a car? So it's 50-50. I say we go with what he said.
Thank you, 50-50.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're thinking this is gonna cure all this thing, and it is not.
So, on yesterday, I was on Moore Street, and there's an elderly couple walking with their walkers, and she fell. She fell, and she fell hard, she bumped her head, and it's because the sidewalk and the driveway right there, it was just before the dance studio, and we had some guy stop and help pick her up, and I helped pick her up, and the one gentleman who rides his little bike all around town, he helped pick her up, but she was pretty hurt, and then she got the transportation, a Cadillac gray bus, to come pick her up to take her and get checked. So I think what's in the city needs to be fixed before bump outs, and I come from a city that has bump outs, and they are problems.
This is something from Florida, not.
Yeah.
Right here, right
I just have a question. We're here for a workshop to see how we can work on these
Yeah.
bump outs. I think. Are we too late in this project to even be here?
Yeah.
Can anything be done?
It's advertised for letting in 2 weeks.
We know that. Is it too late? Just someone be honest with us, so we.
Yeah.
We'd have to pull the
Wasting
letting,
our time.
we'd have to pull the letting, which is difficult. We have contractors that have their bids prepared. We can see about pulling the letting, but I don't know how much we can reduce the scope, because we have a responsibility for safety as a department. We can't just sign off on something and say that we're, we don't recognize the existence of a safety problem.
We
or
don't.
that we're not addressing a safety problem.
We don't have a
that we're aware of.
You know how many accidents I see
Is this
everywhere?
the plan here?
Prior to the revisions.
Can you show us where the crosswalks would be?
It's all
Some of
of
us.
the bubbles there.
The bubbles are the crosswalks. I can't read that street down there on that end one.
This one's at Redmond Street, this one's at Lincoln Street. Moore Street, Fulton, just east of, Mental Health.
So if we go back to Lincoln Street, that's all the one, also the one that's being proposed, the one-way traffic?
Yeah.
With, and a bump out. So there's a lot going on Lincoln Street, correct?
Yeah, well, currently there's parking there, so, I
Yes.
mean, bump outs will help that. We had the conversation early on in the development about bump outs, cause yeah, you're right, most cities may have nothing nice to say about them, nothing good to say about them. The city, we talked about them, talked to them about them. We obviously all know that they're maintenance, additional maintenance around them and whatnot, but for the safety of the pedestrians of the corridor, not just you and I who might be able to cross just fine wherever you want to, where there is a barrier, but for the people that can't access that.
There's been a lady,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Carolyn Stomberg.
Yeah, I couldn't see your face.
So, I understand you want designated areas, why can't you just make it flat? Just color the crosswalk with a different colored concrete or stone, make it different than the blacktop, so you do have a designated area that they can cross at, but it's not raised. So then you're not entirely changing your plans, you're still having designated crosswalks for people, for safety reasons, but then you alleviate the traffic flow for, the heavy equipment and stuff, because we have been called upon numerous times over the course of history, the last 25 years, since I've, been married to my husband, where we've had to come and pull out the city trucks, the county trucks, because we have huge equipment that can move snow a lot faster than the city and the county can. And we are not going to want to do that and ruin our equipment because we don't know exactly where every little bump out is and every little island is when we're running down the street with our equipment. So if you just alleviate these islands and just make them colored or a differentiated color, I think you would still get to the same means. It's a crosswalk for safety purposes and designated, so people are watching that this is a designated crosswalk for people. And then you're making other people being able to have the traffic flow for their equipment, because we as farmers, we're not moving. We can't pick up our land and go get another job somewhere else. There's a lot of people in this town that might not be here in 5 years and don't care what the city looks like. But we here as farmers who support the community, pay taxes here, we do care because we put a lot of time and effort into this community because we're here permanently. So is there any way that that is doable? People can still, you're not changing your design.
Can you recognize the safety difference? If you were
No.
standing in a,
The problem
in
is
the
if a
protection
tire,
of an
you go
island
up
though?
over, no, not because if you're going 35 miles an hour, you're still gonna run up over the curb and hit somebody.
It's a lot more visible, I would think, with that curb, different color, standing out
So I have an
more than
autistic
paint on the
17-year-old
sidewalk.
grandson, and he would go more by the color. I like her idea because of his autism. He understands visual as a point to, I have to stand on this crosswalk because this is where I'm supposed to be, and he's already almost been hit a couple times because people are not they just don't pay attention. That's the
I
bottom.
mean, you're not helping people in the wheelchairs when you,
Yeah.
when you have a bump out with an island. I
So
mean,
he'll
it
be
actually,
there also.
it
You
actually
make the
does,
bump out,
because
he's
it
gonna
reduces
stand
the
there.
distance of the road that they have to cross. Secondly, they only have to look at one direction of traffic, they can cross half the width of the road, and then they have time to wait for the other direction to clear before they can cross another lane of traffic. So there is advantages for vulnerable users.
What about pedestrian lights?
All of these things that you guys are bringing up are all useful tools to improve the crossings.
I don't mean to make this sound silly. I apologize. I taught preschool for 20 years. And we used to actually have Officer Lester, Brett Lester, come in with safety pub, great big 6-foot dog with cape, come in and would walk with the children, show them, stop, look, and listen. Crossing the road. My God, you learn that when you're 4. You stop, look, and listen. When the road's clear, you cross the road. Where under the heavens does it make sense to run out in traffic and stand there and wait for traffic to clear? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
I think you're mistaking that the type of people we're talking about. Ma'am in the lion's shirt, what was your name?
My name's Mary.
Mary. You mentioned a woman who was crossing the road and fell.
She was on the sidewalk. She was not on the road. She was on the sidewalk on Moore Street in front of the dance studio. There's a big hole in front of the driveway there, and she just couldn't handle her cart, and so she took a tumble.
Understood. Using that person as an example, envision that person crossing the street, alright, and, you know, trying to go across 4 lanes, even if she's using a proper crosswalk. There's challenges, you know, if you aren't, a typical able-bodied person.
I think her point was that the road, that the sidewalk was messed up badly, and that's why the person fell.
Issue a little bit. I mean, I'm like 90% of the people in this room, we've been here all our lives. You people obviously have not. I've had as many as 5 businesses running at the same time in this town since the mid-80s to the late 90s or 2000s. I've watched this town deteriorate for decades. Over the years, I took several hours out of my day, several times, had to borrow somebody else's car because the workers in town knew my vehicle. I filmed them for hours, and I brought that to the city council several times because the DPW will not fix our town. And the sidewalk issues and the streets show it. They haven't been repaired, the curbs are all broke, they're buckled. You can drive down Speaker Street here, there's so much dirt in the curb and gutter, the weeds are growing that high. But yet, you know, they have a blight officer that comes out and writes a ticket if you guys do that. But the safety issue is the city has not taken care of this town for decades. I don't know what, now we wanna do these themey things like the gaslighting, the trees, and now we want curbs and islands. This isn't Florida.
I can't address that.
This isn't Florida, you know, where their islands are 20 feet wide, where that's their left turn lane, they face each other. There isn't enough room in the streets to do that here.
No.
I don't understand it. We just need to fix what we have. The piping and the utilities underground, yes, definitely need to be replaced. We need to, repave the streets, all new curb and gutter, like it should have been done decades ago. And if anything, try to widen the streets and give us more parking, because the businesses definitely need parking.
Hey Jeff,
And that's all
who's
it is.
gonna fix the water line? Who's gonna do that?
Isn't that part of the project?
I'm asking, who's gonna do that?
Hopefully I don't know. Is it the DPW?
Bingo!
Is it, or is it the state?
No, we're doing it.
including the city.
So the DPW don't do anything?
You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
We're getting on this.
So,
All the miles you walk around town, you back out, you should know the curbs and bump outs.
let's refocus people.
We need to go back to our agenda. We are here today, we wanna address the parking on 46, the bump outs, and the medians. That's what we're trying to get solved, so let's just pick one and work on it. We all know we're frustrated. We called for this special meeting, this is a work meeting of,
A work session.
a work session. So-
will be signed, will they not? Won't there be signs on the side or maybe in the middle of that crosswalk?
Yeah, there is signage to enhance the pedestrian crossings.
There's like a post in the middle of the road going up.
Yes.
That'll be a problem.
Take one of my truck drivers, just one of them.
Safety and all of that, but we're all considering as business owners, if we have a lot of money invested in this town, and we all need to make a living in this town, we need our farmers in this town, that's the bread and butter of our whole community. And when you say there's gonna be posts and things, and I know you need a minimum of 16 foot now for a four-wheel drive tractor, and who's to say how big it's gonna be in the future? We all started out with small tractors, 25 years ago, and how much larger they've gotten. I think we need to look to the future, consider those medians, consider the bump outs, whether, it could all be totally drivable, cause we need our farmers and we need our business people in this town to make a living.
We're not opposed to the project, Brad, the water lines and all that.
No,
We just gotta make it work for every business
Every
owner.
business owner.
Yeah.
There's some business owners here that are totally all the parking out in front of their business, where an 80-year-old might stop, run in and buy some flowers.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we need it where people can hop out, come into our business and leave. Because we all know how we all are nowadays. If you're driving through town and looking for a party or someplace to stop, you're looking for the easy place to pull in and park. And that's what we're looking for, it's just that.
And some of these downtown businesses only have front doors.
Yeah.
They don't have a.
She has a question back here.
That's the meat and potatoes of this, and we need to figure out if we can solve this somehow.
Plus, if you get a lot of snow, how are you supposed to see these things? Say if we get 16 inches or 12 inches of snow.
Yeah,
Yeah, but what if people, yep.
They should be concerned.
Yeah, they should be concerned.
I wonder how is the best way of going across the street where no pedestrian signs, but they have, those crosswalks, but there's no pedestrian light there. How is the best way to go with, like, for instance, because I'm a pedestrian all my life, would it be safe to go across into the center lane and wait there till one side is gone, you know, till it's clear on one side and then continue going across the street on the other side like on 46? Like some people do that, they go a halfway across the state and then they go across the other rest of it? Or should I be waiting till it's clear both sides and then run across the street? That's what I'm wondering about.
We also used to have one more stoplight, but we lost that.
There's one crossway, it's on 46 right in front of the state police department, doesn't have no pedestrian lights, but it has a crosswalk. And that's the one that I'm always going on when I walk from McDonald's or Family Diners coming home, and I go over there across the street on the walk pathway. That's why I'm wondering about that.
So, I wanna say that we hear you, and we understand the challenge here and the trade-offs, and that's what I was trying to say at the beginning of the meeting. There are hard decisions to make, and it's a trade-off. You can't, to answer your question, we as designers, we can't assume that you're gonna stop in the middle of the road, even if there's a protected center left turn lane, because that is not considered a safe refuge for you. If we provide a refuge, it has to be at least 6 feet wide, and it has to be ADA compliant to allow somebody to stop and have that safe refuge point and then continue along your way. So really, when we say it's a trade-off, we're talking about it's all or nothing. We either put them or we don't. And you know, we're hearing a lot. We hear you that it just doesn't fit with your vehicles and your usage.
Why would we need them if we took out all the parking anyways? How many people are gonna be crossing the road if there's no place to park?
Well, people will be going to the courthouse.
That's a good point.
There's reasons, right?
So, the parking is on the agenda.
Hey, we got a hand up. Right here.
Yeah, I'd just like to know, what is the purpose of the bump out? Why are they there in the first place?
Safety.
Safety?
So when you have parking there anyways, you know,
Okay,
there's
it's that
vehicles that
far
are
away
taking
from the
up that
corner,
side of the road.
it takes away parking on that side of the street. You only got a certain distance from the 4 corners to that bump out, and there's no parking at the 4 corners. You only have parking from the bump out down to the other end of the street in front of the Bill Dixon's business.
That bump out shortens the distance that a pedestrian is in the roadway.
Oh.
So they're in, they can,
That,
where they're crossing.
you
the
gotta
road,
be kidding me.
Where they are in the bump out, they have a shorter length to cross the road because it's not out beyond where the parking area is.
So the island, so let's get back to the island.
Yeah.
And that's the big question. So you reduced you did a roll curve. And so you changed that design. So what is the height of that median now, John? 4 or 5 inches?
sorry?
You wouldn't necessarily have to stop if you wanna stand on the edge and wait for both lanes to be clear.
But we're
why do we
trying to
need 'em then?
teach him,
But-
because he's autistic, he doesn't understand what we can and can't do always, so I have to make sure that he
And it-
does it for his safety, not
These
for
are all
the rules.
tough decisions. I was, reading through some crash reports from incidents in the corridor, and the exact scenario witnesses described where they proceeded because one bound was clear, they got to the other side, it was not clear, and they were struck.
Were they at a like an illegal crosswalk?
Yeah, cause that's where
Yeah.
we tell him, he is
That I
not to
don't know.
cross.
Were they-
the
I-
road.
my understanding is-
Regardless,
Yeah, there's a big difference.
One of the people that did get hit wasn't.
pedestrian island there, they
Yeah,
wouldn't have been
why not
struck.
just a light and a crosswalk without the island?
Yeah.
Can I make one question? It's not about the safety in the city. If there was an accident, I just went, or right from the school, there was a police officer there. And the crossing guard, he crosses the kids in the morning. Police officer there, you're talking about all these accidents. Car came with police officer there, went right around the corner, right on the main street, cut somebody off. The other guy had to go up on the curb and not get hit. And there's a crosswalk, police officer, accidents are gonna happen. You keep saying these accidents, and in Emily City, I haven't seen accidents constantly. But that just happened right in front of my house just this past week.
Okay, I think you're answering Mr. Mitchell's question about the height.
And I said about the snow.
We know the height of the curb.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be more than.
Larry, would it be similar to our house?
Well,
Or you're gonna have signs in the middle of the road too, signs.
yeah, posts, right? Where would the
There shouldn't
posts
be
be?
signs
They be in the
because
very
that
center
means
then,
people
or
are
middle?
gonna
Yeah.
have
So,
to cross.
the
People
road-
that are
That's
gonna
one of the
hit
questions was how do you see it, or how do you know it's there, if it's at night or if there's snow? That's why
But your
our
truck
traffic
is like
engineers
steep or
felt
something
that they
there.
needed to have the signs in the median.
Yeah.
And
So that's
if they
14
became a
foot
problem,
lane
they
and
can
half of
always
the
be
island is
removed.
another 3, that's, 17 feet off of the lane, or 17-foot lane.
So that's 17 feet. Yeah. We're going over a small curve. Is that gonna hinder the large equipment?
There won't be a sign there anymore.
And your curb is gonna be gone. Your curb will
Well,
be gone.
17 feet is off the sign, right?
Always hard on tires, you know.
Yeah, with the suspension.
We got a hand over here.
So, all of these changes, or a lot of these changes, seem to be predicated on the notion of safety. You've cited 2 fatalities, but you can't give us the time frame on when these fatalities took place.
Yeah, just didn't bring that
I did.
information.
The one.
I think we're all pretty familiar with two fatalities.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hold on, I've read the reports.
It is.
I know there is one incident that you guys may not agree on, here nor there. It was somebody's loved one, it was somebody's, mistakes happen. That's not every single incident that we're talking about.
But how many of these incidents are worth making major alterations to the infrastructure of a town?
One incident.
One incident? I disagree. Yeah.
So one life is not worth anything
No,
else?
no, one life is not worth ruining.
I don't think we have to ruin the economy. I think there's a way here to get down through town with the islands and make it both ways, so. If you put the post up in the center, that may be a little bit of a hindrance if it's inside that 17 feet. But if it's outside the 17 feet, then I think your equipment can get through town.
Truck come with a wide load, because they're allowed to bring wide loads through there
And
with
they
a
bring
special
wide loads, but they
permit.
have to meet those special permits,
Right,
that
but
down
they
here in the
don't-
state highway, we're
but-
not any different than any
You know,
place
the
in the state.
17 feet actually part will be different, because we can get our, semis, we can pull wide permits for wider than that at any day of the week.
Like most of the
axles are that way?
traffic, I think, when Clint takes his huge tractors through town, he does it early in the morning, so it's not like it's in the middle of the day where it's a lot of traffic, which, you know, is good for everybody. But if you bring like a trailer, those are, you know, there's a bunch of those, you know, they're pretty standard, and.
See them every day.
Yeah, we see those every day, so are we saying they can't go down, they can't meet the width requirements with the island?
For the wide road, for the wide road.
they're permitted, there's probably there's a limit on what that wide load could be, right? I mean, it's not, just cause you have a permit, it's not low.
There is, but it's wider than 17 foot.
So are we the only town that would have bump outs that a wide load would have to go through?
Anywhere in this area?
Yeah.
Yes.
The bump outs.
With the sign in the middle, yes you
But the
are.
bump outs don't interfere with that 17 feet, right? The bump outs are where the traffic, where the parking is. So the bump outs don't it's outside of the lane, so the bump outs have really nothing to do with just a wide load lane.
No.
So, it's just the islands that are questioning.
And he just found that, that curve from the pavement to the top of the curve would be 5.5 inches at most. And that's if you're in the gutter pan and on the base. If you're on the road, it's even less. So if your vehicle, your trailer is staying within that 12-foot lane, but you're overhanging with whatever you're hauling, you have 18 feet.
Except for
clear.
Except there's states.
So 18 feet would be the whole to the curb line. That would be your restriction.
So 18 feet should meet your requirements for your track.
That's half the roadway width.
So who replaces the concrete curbing when it eventually deteriorates because of all of the heavy equipment going over top of the islands?
You're gonna use good cement, right?
So we had the same issue. We had the same issue with, in the question with the pump out in front of the brewery, right? And so that pump out has now been there 6 years, 5 years, 6 years. And what we've done is it's a deeper asphalt concrete brick section, and I believe it's held up fairly well over the last few years. And I'm sure many of you can attest that numerous vehicles of all sizes and shapes and weights have run over that curb.
I can guarantee you a tractor weighs more than that, somebody running over that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen semis run over that.
But the point is that it's withheld the weight that's run over it multiple times for multiple years. I can't guarantee you that it can withstand the weight of every vehicle that may ever possibly cross over it.
So what
Those are the kinds of things that are incorporated into the.
And can't walk up the stairs.
Hold on.
Those are the things that are incorporated into the design. So, you know, there's ways to build pavements and things that can withstand the weight of your equipment, right? When you drive your equipment down the road just doesn't fall apart, right? That's what we're trying to prevent here, right? We have a road that is many, many years old, and we're trying to ensure that it lasts many, 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 many more years. The other thing that I'm kind of hearing, while I have the floor for a couple seconds, is that I think that, well, the funding for the project, MDOT is funding the road project. MDOT is paying for the curb. MDOT is paying for the asphalt. MDOT is paying for the islands. MDOT is paying for the bump outs. Okay? And the storm sewer. All of that. The city is paying for
Where do they get the money
water
from?
main. Okay? And the city will pay for any purposes or anything above and beyond, such as lighting, streetscaping, and that kind of thing. So when I get the sense that when we look at the whole project and we see this $25 million, whatever it is. This $20 million project going in and thinking that we can somehow shift some of that $20 million to fix sidewalks and streets on other places, that I just wanted to clarify for some that that's not the case. Most of the money is being spent and coming from MDOT and coming from federal funds.
Which is still our money, still our money, still taxpayer. So we're paying for it.
Sure, you and the entire.
So we don't want it.
Doesn't matter.
We don't want it.
Doesn't matter.
I have a question about all the islands that
are being put in. Was the purpose, excuse me, purpose of that partly for beautification?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
So it's just gonna be a bump in the middle of the road then?
So
It's
these
not a refuge
are
island in the-
concrete curb and concrete sidewalk within the asphalt roadway. So you will have, there's no coloring, there's no, with
There's
the
something
exception
to
of
run
the
into.
detectable warning signs.
Just something to.
Is it gonna be all concrete, there's no grass or anything? It's all
Not in the
concrete?
middle, the medians, no.
Yes, sir.
It's unfortunate this meeting is happening tonight and not 2 months ago. You got a lot of letters, or I hope you did, from the meeting back in June or whenever you
May.
presented this, May was it? And it's too bad that we're doing this so late, and now you're saying, and I think you're here as a courtesy, and you're probably not gonna change the bidding date. And that's what is concerning, is we're here wasting our time, and
We did
hopefully
listen.
you're gonna listen,
We
okay?
did listen and we reduced the islands
But
because of
you
our-
guys decided that, you didn't talk to all these
Right.
people.
Yep,
And
that's right.
these people are the ones that could have added, like we're doing tonight, some more information to
From
it.
12 to 16 feet.
And I think that
The public
it's,
meeting was open to everyone.
I know.
And we listened to
And
everyone's.
get a letter in the
you
mail.
did,
Yeah.
and you guys all caucused together, but you never got, some of you've never been to Sandusky until you got this thing going. The people that designed it are from Troy. The one guy said he'd never been to Sandusky, and he drew up plans. We can't have that, we gotta have the local people, like our city council, putting input in it. Are you saying that you have, you have
You can have my seat anytime you want.
the city council has to do what you're looking
I think it's time.
or
Bring it
is
on.
the final say the city council, because we're hearing, the city council has no say, the DOT is doing what they need to do. Is that the case, or is the city council have a final say on all this?
MDOT has the final say on everything because it is MDOT's project. But throughout project development, we have worked in concert with the city. We had a public meeting, we listened to input that we did receive and respond to. Nobody talked about 16-foot trailers at the public meeting, that was never mentioned.
But you saw some of that when you left town, I heard, somebody did. I don't know who was here, were you guys here? Any of you guys here? You were here,
Yeah.
okay.
But we
So-
I live in a farm community myself, and I follow them up and down my road just like you do. And they're in the lane, I'm in a 2-lane road and I'm right behind them, they're in the lane. They're not on the shoulder, they're in the lane.
Well, I hope you take home what we're saying tonight, and if we have to postpone postpone it, I mean, this has been in the making for,
Yep.
I don't know how many years, and it's great that we're getting it, and we can't thank the state more, or federal, I guess it is, for doing this, but you gotta listen to the locals,
And just putting it in the
and now we're all
newspaper
getting fired up because it's
one
getting
time.
close to the end. And I think there's a lot of good, smart business people here that can give you some input, and
Can I ask?
I wish you would listen.
Who mandated this bump out we have now? Did this MDOT, State of Michigan, or did the city have to apply for that?
Which
I know that you
The
one we got on 19.
You let me answer.
Okay.
We came together and looked at the scope of the project. We knew we needed storm sewer. We knew we needed.
No, not this project.
Please. We knew we needed storm sewer. We knew we needed new pavement, curb and gutter and the like. The city used the opportunity to, establish a water main project, which MDOT doesn't participate in it. That's a public, separate thing. But as part of that scope, we looked at the safety of the corridor, and that's where the 5 pedestrian crashes alerted us. So we said that is a priority. We had received the message from the community health, mental health, excuse me, and said, that heightened what we were already saying, that that's significant. 5 is a significant number for a little town like this. So and then we, in partner with our consultant team, we said, what can we do different? How can we make it a safer road and move traffic more fluidly through town, keep the cross-section continuous, the way the lanes are set up, and make it safe for everybody, the road user, as well as the vulnerable or the pedestrians, road user. That was developed as a team the city didn't ask for it.
Well,
The city supported what we were looking for a solution.
So you're talking about this project?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm asking a question about the bump out we have currently. Who came to who for that? MDOT didn't come to Sandusky, most of us never been here, and said, you have to have this. Obviously, the city of Sandusky said, oh, we'd like to do that, and they had to go to MDOT and get approval for it.
Who was that? You did
It was a council decision to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was part of MDOT. MDOT
All
had
of
to
us are
approve it.
being told that MDOT mandates this stuff. Well, I just.
MDOT is,
said,
we're talking about two different projects, yeah.
And I didn't ask about this one right now.
Right.
I asked about the previous.
That was part of the city's boardwalk.
To know what went on.
That was part of the city's boardwalk project, which
Right.
wasn't our project. It wasn't our project, we didn't mandate.
Right. No, the city asked, I think they got the okay from MDOT to do the bump out.
That's where it originates, from the city. I know, that's
That
what I
one
wanted
did,
to know.
that one did.
Well, I know it.
Yes, Bill.
Are you saying then that the bump outs are MDOT mandated? All the bump outs?
These proposed ones.
The bump outs at the corners and, you know, along, like taking the parking spots at MDOT mandated?
That is part of our vulnerable road user solution.
So it's not a solution,
it's not a mandate.
So it's city mandated or MDOT mandated?
We came to that.
Either.
We came to that together as a solution to an apparent problem.
It's not mandated.
not.
It's not mandated.
It's not
So the
mandated.
bump outs
We
could be
don't want
gone if you guys
rest of them.
decide to go to gone then, if we get the parking back in front of some businesses.
So there wouldn't be parking where the bump outs are anyway.
So it's,
Parking would be, you still wouldn't be able to park.
Why not? It used to be.
So one of the things
Well,
we heard
you might
is
lose one spot.
trucks can't make the turns, they're riding up on the curb. So part of the reconstruction of M46 includes realigning the curbs to make the radiuses better for turning.
Well,
It was that the
curve
theory
goes
behind
out
the bump
on the north
out
side
here.
the building there too. That makes that much harder to get around. It also bumps out on the north side and on 19. It's on 46 and 19.
Yep.
It all should be gone.
Yep.
We don't need that. That's a
Yep.
problem.
So how do you
If
get
you're a
your
truck
truck
driver, you understand that.
Right.
Yeah, because
But the question is, how do I get through there if I'm in a wheelchair, or I have to walk on the sidewalk?
That's what
With the
my
lights and
question
the
is, sir,
crosswalks
because
that
in
have
front
been there
of the
forever.
Elks Club, there's stairs, and they have to go
I don't
up the
understand.
stairs probably, I don't know, 5, I think. I'm not exactly sure how many steps there are to get up. And then, so people who are in wheelchairs, or like her pushing the cart, they have to go around, because there's no ramps even for them to get up and down. There is?
On the boardwalk.
On the boardwalk, but still, they have to come around into that traffic to get to that boardwalk.
Well, on the sidewalk.
It is on the sidewalk?
This gentleman's had his hand up a long time.
I just have a consideration, the eastbound traffic from 46. Today, we have a lot of farmers that have 8-axle trailers, that's like the majority now. And you can just sit out there for 5 minutes and you'll recognize the safety of the people are there. And it's almost like you wanna pull that back, or like you were mentioning, 120-foot radius wouldn't even do it. I've watched them go out and go almost to the bar and back traffic up the other way to make that turn and go out. And it's almost always, it isn't just one time. I think we need to look at that in our design to make sure that's accommodated. It used to be MDOT Bank and the posts used to be torn off, stuff used to be torn off on that corner. That's a real problem. And then you get people that go into the right lane and you'll get the semis that go in like they're gonna go through to Carsonville, and they're waiting there at the right turn lane on, knowing they even have to jackknife to make that corner, and they'll cut off a car, in attempting to do that. And I've witnessed it many times where they just drive right over the axle, whether it's mountable or not, but that my goal is just if we address those things like that, that's really what we need to do. And we're all talking about this, what about a truck route? I mean, it alleviates a lot of these problems. I don't know.
You're shaking your head, you don't think a truck route is a good solution?
Well, no, if anybody that is a truck driver knows that it takes a lot to stop a truck and get it going again.
Yeah.
Like for instance, coming from 19 north, I mean, you have Mill Road east that's paved, you can go around there. But myself, including any of these people that drives the truck, you're gonna go to the quickest distance, you're gonna stop once, turn and go, instead of slow down, turn, get going, stop, or turn and go down and stop and turn again and get going again. It's just nature. It's just the way it is. Truck routes don't work unless you got a wide load that you have to go somewhere else. That's all there is to it.
Well, I own Keith Radio here in Sandusky on Lincoln Street, and I don't know how wide a truck is, but you wanna put 2 bump outs on my corner. I don't know how my truck is supposed to pull in there and unload my appliances. You have 2 bump outs right there on that corner.
And make it a one-way.
And make it a one-way. So how am I gonna, you gonna airdrop them or what?
And that's what
I could park on 19 and block the traffic in 1 lane for now and long over with my truck, I could do that.
How's UPS and FedEx gonna get it?
You're gonna cause more accidents.
My husband asked Mr. Faber one day about that.
Hold it, she's still talking.
My husband asked Mr. Faber about that, he came over one day and talked with him and asked him about the truck. And, he said, well, he didn't really think we should block in the cars on Lincoln Street. Well, okay, if we park on the main street, well, we'd get a ticket. Well, that seems kinda silly, I mean, you can block off the whole damn street beginning Friday morning to put in a volleyball hoop, or a volleyball net, and a beer tent. And I can't park the truck there to unload my appliances to keep my business going. What do you want me to do with my truck?
I'm just the boxing
Whomever.
referee.
Whomever.
So what do you want to answer that?
So I mean, the bump outs, speaking of, you know, whether we're spending money on the things that we should, the bump outs we're trying to match what the city's plan is for that area. So instead of coming in and just putting, well, I mean, they represent the city, hopefully. So that's what we're trying to do. We don't wanna come through and we're required to update the ADA ramps, bring them up to standard. We don't wanna put them in and then, you know, 2-3 years later, you guys have the opportunity to make that change and, you know, then we've wasted that. So, just something to think about.
Just the question is the city willing to get rid of bump outs then?
I don't think that's a universal or a single person decision. I think that needs to be a team decision.
I think it should be a community decision.
And that we've heard the community's vote.
I guess, can we just do a raise of hands on how many people want the bump outs and how many people don't at this meeting, just to see what the majority is thinking?
You got the floor.
Okay, how many people are for the bump outs? Oops. How many people are against?
How many people are for pedestrian safety?
How many communities have veterans in their economic development once they have a road project?
What was that?
Road projects coming through towns have a tendency to spike your economic development in town. Because you got
road construction is not gonna bring sales to my store.
Yeah, we're gonna take away the.
That could be true if we have our parking so that we could still have places for our community to come enjoy it. Right now, you're taking everything away.
Yep.
But how many parking spaces do the bump outs take up on 46, just for instance? Well, that's not nothing with bump outs, but that's with the project, the bump outs themselves.
It's obvious to me that everybody involved in this project knows nothing about business and how it needs to operate.
We are listening. We can't, I'm not gonna tell you something that I can. I am listening to you. And we are trying to come up with a solution. We have a letting in 2 weeks. Potentially it will get delayed for a month. We cannot go past a month, which absolutely restricts our ability to make much of any change because we're gonna need to get it re-advertised with any supposed changes if that were to happen. But, so we have to limit the scope of any potential change if that is ever gonna fly. If it goes more than a month without getting let, we will run into problems with lead times on materials and contractor issues and that type of thing, and we could, our project could be in jeopardy and I assure you, it takes years to get a municipality project because they're so expensive.
Well, yeah, but you're a different business than what we're talking about. You don't have to meet a payroll and have to have a profit in your business. You're spending everybody else's money. That's a whole big ballgame.
I don't have any money to take care of all of the roads that I have to take care of in 4 counties.
I'll tell you what, I could do that.
Let's just talk about this.
I'm gonna make a decision on it. They hire me, I'll get.
Right here, we got a handout right here.
Okay, my question is, when is this project supposed to start, and when is it supposed to end? Because from what I've been hearing, that they're supposed to start the minute the frost leaves the ground. Okay, we have a big film festival at the end of June. Is that gonna affect it?
Yeah, we're not gonna have that. We're not gonna do that.
It'll be impacted in 2024.
Okay, that explains it right there. There goes the entire city of Sandusky right down the tubes.
I would like to know if the community that doesn't want it, how can you force it upon us when we just don't want it here? And if it's a month away, then you have to delay it, so you have to delay it because the community spoke, in my opinion.
We're listening. We can't say what we can fix and get this thing re-advertised for.
But we're asking.
I don't have the answer. We have to take the information we're getting and seeing what we can accommodate changes in a plan. We're not at our computers looking at, we have to get the project cleared by traffic and safety. They will say, you're not addressing things.
Why can't we delay it? Why can't you delay it so that the
We can
community is more
potentially
comfortable?
delay it up to 1 month. We could potentially delay it up to 1 month. But what we can accomplish in design changes would need to take place pronto for re-advertisement.
So then I think
I
that's
don't
what
know,
should happen.
I don't know what changes we have the ability to make. Design doesn't happen like that. Design is
I don't know, I was a graphic designer for 13 years and then you can put anything on a paper like that on a computer,
There's
print it out,
engineering
and it's
behind
there.
it.
I
And
mean,
we have to clear this.
I understand that.
We have to clear any changes to make sure we're addressing the safety of the corridor for all users.
So, there's no chance of saving the parking on 46?
So the parking on M46 at the courthouse, there's a road width existing there. We are limited to what we can have to work with based off of that existing, so.
Who's limiting you?
Historical,
That's what we were getting at, is the historical thing can be accommodated.
well, not in.
And you're saying that that's, the historical
in Lansing is limiting how much you can move that stuff over. And I know for a fact that you can correct that if you go at it the right way, but if you just say that they're not gonna accept that, then we're out of luck.
Yeah.
What about going on the other
We're
side?
asking you guys to
On the south side, there's way too much sidewalk there, why don't we take off a few feet there and make the street?
So there's challenges through the M19 intersection, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, because I already heard that the corner's too tight, so if we move it a little closer to the corner, you're just making that situation worse.
And
Well,
it's not just the courthouse that's historic.
And we
it's
have
the
to be
whole
able to
corridor, there's so
accommodate
much.
both.
I know the whole core, I heard all that stuff, and we're all for the historical.
I don't designate that.
I know you don't,
can't fix that.
but I'm saying that I think that should not be holding up this project by stopping parking. If you stop, we'll get into that now, the parking out in front of the courthouse is really important, really important. You've got the Thumb Festival where you got people parking there, you got music in the park on Friday nights that fill that up. You got people going north through town all the time, and they park on that side of the street because of the availability, and they go in and have breakfast at Bob and Jamie's, things like that. It's not always full, but we need more parking there, and you can't eliminate that, no matter what. If we gotta go to George Washington, we need to do something to change. I mean, that's just
You
not.
have proposals for parking revisions, is that not true?
We have proposals for parking revisions, but not on 46, right?
You gotta do something, because we can't lose that whole strip. There's too many times that we need that parking in the community. I don't want somebody from Port Huron going north to go through Sandusky. I want them to stop and have breakfast or lunch. And if they got good parking, they're gonna do that. But if you eliminate all that, then it's nothing but an expressway through town. And nobody's considering that for some reason. We gotta do something about that. And I know that can be done.
So the way it was explained to me was, yes, there's potential that it may be approved to do something more there, but it's not guaranteed. It's not like what you're saying, and it's probably 100 times more difficult for us to do that.
Well, then let us talk to the historical and see what we can do, because I know it can be done. But now we're getting down to the deadline. How are we gonna do it when we got 2 weeks left, you know?
Sure.
This should have been brought up months ago.
And it has been.
Not to the right people.
We'll get a group of us together and we'll head to Lansing.
I would think it'd be a little faster to eliminate some of the things that you've already drawn on than it would be to refreeze.
Yeah, there you go,
We have to make sure we can get our set of plans past the safety review to make it accessible for MDOT to advertise the project.
Do you have any, we're not gonna hold you to it, do you have any like suggestions or alternatives? Things you can, I mean, just off the top of your head, what else can be done besides the
Regarding what topic? Just the parking.
I'm talking about the medians, I'm talking about the bump outs, and I'm talking about the parking. That's what we wanna figure out tonight, that's what we're here for. We want this project to happen, I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't want the project to happen.
We want this project, we just want it to work out for our community.
Very much appreciated, definitely
So you're
needed.
appreciated.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, no, we appreciate getting the roads done, because we can't kill our farmers and our businesses downtown.
So regarding the parking in front of the courthouse, you know, I can assure you from day one of the first design meeting, the first time we saw any kind of road plan, layout, alignment, that proposed or even hinted at eliminating the parking in front of the courthouse, we raised red flags and asked and begged and encouraged them to consider and to help us look at alternatives to not let that happen.
Who's that?
them, MDOT, us, as a team, to let this happen, okay? But you have to, one of the things that's a challenge these days is we live in a world of rules. And we live in a world of red tape. And some of us have deeper levels of rules and red tape. Whether you're a graphic designer, you have rules and regulations that you have to follow when you're designing something. It has to be, up to those standards.
As
And
do
so
you in
MDOT,
the business.
and owning a business, the same thing, right? And MDOT has that same thing. And so the people that are here from MDOT honestly don't even have the final say. These aren't necessarily the decision makers,
And we
because
understand
like
that.
they've
We're
said,
just asking for help.
they need to get approval from A, B, C, D, and E. And this project, or any project that has federal funding, has to go through a SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office review. And those are very onerous at times. I've had projects where I've had to hire an archaeologist to come out to a site and monitor the construction that at a cost of over $1,000 a day, just because, as some would say, those people in Lansing said I had to because there might be something there. And so we do it because we want to get the funding. We do it because we want to do the project. So what I have heard, and what you've now heard, is that one of the restrictions on building parking or putting parking back in front of the courthouse is the funding mechanism. It's the federal funding, it's the SHPO requirements that is really putting a big pinch and kibosh on keeping that parking or putting parking back. There is right of way there to put parking there, and if we could put parking there as part of this project, you can be guaranteed that we would have done it. Okay? So just so that said, what we need to do is we need to now move forward and figure out how we are going to replace or redo or reaccommodate the parking that will be lost because of that change. So, and that isn't going to be necessarily an MDOT decision, but it will be an MDOT permit that will have to be acquired in order to build and make improvements in the right of way. So it's not part of the options of any of the things that we've been working on today, but I know I've heard people talk about, that parking being put in the future, kinda sorta like it is, but it's gonna come at somebody else's expense, because it can't be paid for by the federal government.
We're asking them not to take it away and see how there's a big difference.
We got a hand over here.
I have a question.
Raise your hand, it's your turn.
Yeah, I know.
It can take SHPO up to 2 years to review something.
It could.
And it often does.
But sometimes you walking through it might happen a lot quicker. I've seen many projects get walked through and it happens fast, doesn't it? I mean, you've walked them through.
Well,
we
Or
do
you
with
fund
our
it yourself.
Yeah, or you
Or you
fund it
pay
yourself.
it
Well, we
for
don't wanna
yourself.
do that.
Yes.
Where there are parking structures on 46 that, don't include a bump out, will they be obsoleted?
Give us an example.
Well, like across from the courthouse, for example, where Bob and Janie's and the liquor store and, I don't know, a couple businesses over there. Will that be obsoleted?
That parking stays.
Huh?
That parking stays.
All that parking stays?
On the south side.
Wherever there's parking spaces that are gonna be obsoleted, are they gonna be filled in with grass or what?
On the north side, there's.
Anywhere on this plans, is there any of them that's literally gonna just be filled in?
No.
on the north side, it's where the existing curb is now. So where the curb line is now becomes a driveway. And a lot of it has to turn because at the intersection, there's a right-hand turn lane due to the traffic study of the intersection. So you're gaining an extra lane there for a right turn, eastbound, left turn, and a westbound lane because the lane gets moved to line up the intersection, because the intersection is offset from there.
And then during all this conversation, this is my last question, somebody commented, we'll be able to see how many people are actually using these crosswalks and things of that nature. Is that correct? You'll be able to know how many people are using the crosswalks, or no?
We don't have a way to count them.
So there's no digitalization of this road going on?
No.
Is that correct?
Then how do you prove that your theory is successful?
Yeah.
It would be, we would, hope that there would be fewer injuries.
So how have you proved in the past that your theory is,
You can put a
has
person
saved
out there
lives?
to track it and count them, that's the
I'm
only
sorry,
way
I
to
couldn't
do
hear
it.
you well.
You count people over a certain period of time, and you record the number of people.
And where do we find those statistics that you were talking about earlier then, of injuries and deaths? Where would we find those?
They're on public record,
Where?
crash reports.
Can you show us, or just tell us of a couple examples where like a huge city, the amount of pedestrian
The ratio
has gone down just tremendously, where it totally makes it worth it to put this in?
I mean, I don't think this is my personal opinion, I don't think it needs to completely,
I'm looking at it from, we have acknowledged there was a crash history with pedestrians. Item number 5 is a significant number for a small town like Sandusky.
How many years though?
And
small towns have.
How many years?
Was it just in the last year?
but it's all
20
still
years?
the same town.
So the project design started in 2020.
So
We typically go back 3 years.
I was
we
told
came up
10 years.
with a solution
No.
based on that.
That's what you told me.
Wait, I'm asking how you can prove that your guys' way is gonna save lives, that's all I'm asking. I need a.
We looked at something that, I don't know, that, looking at there's design guides for roadside, for non-motorized, for, safety design guides, there's things for traffic calming, there's things for pedestrian safety, we reference those kinds of things, and this is something we, took as an opportunity that we could do within this.
Pam Wadsworth has
So
her hand up, and it's your turn.
Are we to a point where I think we've all agreed that we voiced our concerns about the bump outs and the medians, that you would be able to do something quickly? That's all we're asking.
I am going to see what we can do. We literally would need to turn this around to get it re-advertised. If one, if we can pull the project, and two, what can we even accomplish in a time frame
And that's
to
what
get it re-advertised, cause
we appreciate that.
we have to get it re-advertised.
And I don't want you to get the feeling that we want this project.
I understand. So do I.
And we wanna work with you.
But we can't have our city go away.
Yeah.
And that's what
What's your
will happen.
favorite?
Take away all the parking.
You mentioned it's going, so you turn to the right on the 2 lanes. How far does that go?
The right turn lane?
Yeah.
It goes all the way to the south curve and currently.
So
So
just
where everyone
going,
makes a right-hand turn lane now, that doesn't exist, that will be coming after.
right, so it's just all the way to the end of the courthouse block, right?
It stops at Jefferson. Lexington, for the turn lane. The turn lane starts at Lexington.
Bump out in front of Bob and Jamie's, right?
Yeah.
People over, so you do lose probably one spot in front of Bob.
I'm talking going to the west.
Correct.
So you're taking up the parking on the courthouse side
Right.
to change that into a driving lane.
That will turn into a cause it.
It's gonna be a right turn lane?
No.
No.
Left.
Okay.
Heading westbound, no, westbound is straight
That's what I was.
It's time to move on to Lexington Street parking lot. Two-hour parking, long-term goals.
Yeah, so one of the thing was is 2-hour parking, and then the last meeting there was council originally approved 2 rows. And then there was business owners that requested it to go to 1 row, and business owners that requested it to be on the south side of the parking lot also, a few spaces on the south side.
We're trying,
So.
And maybe doing, no truck parking there, I know Mr. Sheldon said he would have his truck gone, but I noticed they're all still there. Today there was one sitting all day in a 30-minute parking spot. Yep, I have a photo.
Yeah, okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I don't have time today.
I guess on that note, yeah, there's definitely a few things that we can do as far as moving our trucks and our vans and our extra vehicles. You know, maybe 5, 6, 7 vehicles at any given time if, you know, if we're buying new when they're sitting there when they're getting ready.
Normally there's anywhere from 6 to 8, and a lot of times, there is a couple new ones occasionally, but that's the average, I would say, for the last umpteen years.
6 to 8, trucks?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, maybe on the high end, yeah, I mean,
I have pictures of a lot of days.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying on the high end. Yeah, if we get new vans in and we have them wetted, yeah.
I wanna back up one quick second before these guys leave. They agreed that they were going to work on something. What are we gonna work on? So that we've got an idea. What is? We're kinda left here, yep, we're gonna work on something.
What, a time frame that.
I ain't worried about the time. What are you gonna work on?
Well, yes.
They got 2 weeks. They got 2 weeks to make something.
We have a limited opportunity to consider any changes and get them approved to have a plan set that can be allowed to be let with federal aid. We have to use federal aid.
What are your thoughts
So
on
I'm
letting?
looking at the islands. I don't think I'm doing anything with the parking. I don't think I can do anything with the parking.
What about the bump out?
Yeah, but what we heard is that you guys want to be able to get your vehicles through town.
What about driveway closures on 46 on the north side?
I didn't need this. I just wanted to.
That never got addressed either.
We're moving on to the
Okay.
parking north of this building.
Somebody about that.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, folks, I just wanted to make sure.
So Lexington Street parking, so we have those 2 concerns, so, you know, we worked up some drawings, and then I think there's a request for, you know, if we conceptually look at changing the way the parking lot is. Now, you know, the recommendation, I think, that the board would be to go to that first row and put the signs up on that. I mean, they can't make any decisions tonight, this is a little shot. Is to put that first row, if that's what the business owners would want, is the first row sign, and then put 3 2-hour parking at the south end of the parking lot, and with the southeast corner, with, you know, working with Mr. Sheldon to move his vehicles, because if they're over there, that also takes a worker's vehicle to be over there also, so you're actually taking 2 vehicles roughly out of that parking lot. No. He's looking at different locations and/or East Hardware parking lot to put the trucks in. You know, a section that's not used currently in town.
How many spots in that first row parking?
It would be 8 plus the handicap truck.
So that's pushing them all more to our end. And it's mostly employee parking there, so it's gonna make probably a shortage of employee parking, on our end,
Well, the hope is that with his vehicles and the worker's vehicle is, that would open up the same number of roughly spots that we would have, for the 2-hour parking.
Are we gonna put like a no truck parking sign there or something?
We haven't gone that far into it. I was looking at numbers of what we could do, and off the request of the business owner. Made the business owners feel that they don't need all 9 in that front row, then they can sign it differently.
Are the handicap ones gonna be 2 hours also?
The handicap one would be 2 hour also.
So what happens to our employees that need handicap parking?
What do they do now?
They currently park in the handicap parking because they're permitted to.
So it's just,
Well, we can add handicap parking, ADA parking. How many do you need?
Well, I believe there's at least 2 that currently use them.
Okay, let us know how many you need. Take that into
You're gonna
consideration.
drop the full 46 beside Sheldon's parking for all of our customers down to only 8 parking spots, cause you don't have anything at 46 for us. Cause you're only giving us 2-hour parking and we know that they'll take up all the rest with all of their employees.
But the thing is I've done a lot of, walking over in that parking lot, and your business is gonna be open from 10 to. Okay. After lunch, at about noon time, there's a lot of empty.
Actually, it's about 2 o'clock, I've been watching very closely too, and if I
Yeah.
can't serve lunch, I'm gonna fail. You can't just serve 1 meal a day and survive, I might as well shut down right now.
There is quite a few, people would have to drive through to find a parking spot.
Actually, yesterday I couldn't find one in the whole parking spot, I had to go to parking lot,
I'm the one that originally brought this to the city's attention, because every time I went to show the vault when I had it for sale, they couldn't find a place to park, on the back, and that was one of their biggest concerns, so that's why I presented it in the first place. And if you go there anytime, maybe you can get 1 or 2 spots during the week, but there's not any spots that's available there. And I brought that, I'm the one that brought it to attention of the city, and I wanted the two spots there. Now, when you're talking about handicap parking, are you gonna put it in that first row parking, or are you gonna put some more handicap parking?
just
The one there, so cause if you put 2 more there, that's gonna eliminate a couple more spots there. So if you could do that to the second row too, that would put a couple of handicaps in there, that would probably help everybody out in the long run. But that's the biggest problem. I mean, every time I showed it, everybody I showed it, now I didn't sell it to Tracy, but everyone I showed it to, hey, they said that's first thing, man, you better go parking here. What are we gonna do about parking if people are gonna come here? And so that's why I brought it to the attention of the city, and that's why it came up, so.
If you can understand all this old
Yeah.
we don't use it on our end.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I brought it up to a couple council members here, is when my wife worked at Jerry's Foodland, she never parked in anywhere near, they parked way back in the parking lot. And that's where they were requested to park. I'm not talking about customers, I'm talking about employees.
You can't even come back, cause there isn't any parking.
Those businesses use this spot, you guys park out here.
Yeah, that's a city park.
There's lots of room in that lot over there.
Why can't some of the employees that are parking in this said parking lot over here park behind Ace? Is there a reason why the employees have to park right here? Because I know where I used to work.
You're from
Sandusky Flashlight.
Yes, man, you do such great work.
Oh, really? Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I mean, it's great for this community.
Oh, for sure, for sure. What was your name, man?
Oh, my name is John Hobson.
Bretton Jones. Nice to meet you, John.
Nice meeting you. Yeah, we got, right now they want to, my sister's on Sandusky Florist, which has been here forever.
Uh-huh.
Now they want to take the parking.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get their frickin' tax revenue?
Yeah.
So I was telling the commissioner, I goes, but, they're going to shut the town down to do this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they'll come with guns pointed and get their tax money.
Oh, yeah. They will. They will indeed.
I had to leave, and idiot, I think it's their attorney. He was like, well, it's federal. I just wanted to go, we're a republic.
Yeah.
But it's...
Yeah. Hey, man, it's almost too late for that at this point.
That doesn't sound like that would be
Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks,
for
man. It's Mr.
great-
Hobson?
Yeah.
Bretton Jones. Nice meeting you, Mr.
Yeah,
Hobson.
for sure.
Yeah, man. I want to ask Linda one quick question about, well, there's this bump outs and the islands are for pedestrians, right? Walking pedestrians, not driving pedestrians. So how many walking pedestrians have been injured or killed?
According to that, I think 5. I don't know what
That was motor vehicles, though. That was motor vehicles.
That's a good question. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's life risk. Everybody doesn't want to say that
Yeah.
because everybody doesn't want to get out of their little circle.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get in on this.
All right, Brett.
Talk to you.
All right, take care.
Hey, Nathan,
Brett,
how you doing?
how are you?
sir? Good.
I'm gonna focus on
All right,
what I
let's
can
see.
do with the
Yep.
islands. I don't think I can address anything with the parking.
Yeah, that's too bad, because a lot of people park there, and we use that for our courthouse.
SHPO studies can take 2+ years to get through that.
But I don't know if do we have enough traffic to even verify that we need another lane in town?
They're going. That board is
And
getting
46 there, I know Dave.
We're changing it so that we have the
They're
turn
going.
lanes.
Have what?
Have the turn lanes.
Because when you mess
Yeah,
with
but we have
our
a turn
children,
lane now, it's illegal, I guess, right?
come out and stand and fight.
I don't think you have an official turn lane.
That's what Dave Faber said, I don't know anything about your job, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, could you let me know on that?
Yeah, I have to go back and.
Hey, bud. Linda, just one quick question. Is with regards to just public safety. So you've got bump outs, and then you've got bump outs, and you've got islands, and those are for walking pedestrian safety, correct? Do you have any statistics on walking pedestrians that have been killed, or are these 2 fatalities? Were those both driving fatalities?
It was pedestrian vehicle crashes.
So pedestrian vehicle.
All five were pedestrian vehicle crashes. 2 fatalities, 3 serious injuries.
Okay, so there were 0 walking pedestrian injuries or fatalities. Do you have data on that?
What does that mean?
Meaning, I'm walking across the street and I get hit by a vehicle.
That's what pedestrian vehicle crash.
Okay, and these are pedestrian vehicle crashes.
Mm-hmm.
Are they on people that are walking?
One was in a wheelchair.
Okay, so one person was in a wheelchair. Was that one of the fatalities?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a person in a wheelchair was trying to cross the street and they got hit by a car because any number of reasons.
Any
It could have.
number of reasons.
Okay. All right, thanks for clearing that up then.
Yeah.
Drive safe home.
Thank you.
Yep.